1 2 1 2. I think we're live. Welcome back to another episode of The Human Condition. This is your host, Dia, and I'm super excited to be back here on these airwaves. And it's been a while since it was full lockdown and quarantine. In Dubai, I felt more called to press record on the podcast channel and share a lot more thoughts on there. I hope everybody's been safe and slowly integrating back to some type of normality as we are. It seems like numbers are going down here in Dubai, so I hope that when you're listening to this, whatever you are in the world, the situation is getting better, you're safe, and everybody that you know around you is safe as well. So today I was called to talk about the idea that every one of us is an artist. I was in conversation with one of my friends and we were discussing how creativity can be cultivated. And it's something that, we look back at our school and education system, and I'm not too sure how much there was an intention to cultivate creativity, to cultivate artistry. We never get taught in school that art is a career choice or creative thinking or being a musician or something else. It always is classified as a hobby, but it was never something that the education system has taught us to recognize as a potential, unique, identifying factor that we can contribute to our society through our creativity and our art form. And that's something that I feel is a lack in our education system and something that I wish and I'd love to see develop in the coming years. But of course, I'm not trying to generalize here that every single education system is not recognizing the talented, not recognizing raw creativity in kids and teenagers as they grow up. I'm sure it happens across the world in some parts of the world, but I feel like maybe here in the Middle East, at least when I remember school days, it was never something that was cultivated. It was never something that was nourished and directed at a young age. As musicians and as creatives, we were always outcasted. We were always, I had to be kicked out of my biology class and chemistry class or whatever class to be able to spend a bit of time in the music room. Music was a thing. Music was a topic that we were educated on, but it was such an extra curriculum activity, or it was such a, something that was super minor that just people didn't really care about. Yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of room to develop creative thinking and nurture these out-of-the-box initiatives that kids come up with and that we start cultivating at a super, super young age. But now you may ask yourself, why does that even matter? Why should we cultivate creativity? Why should we invest time and effort recognizing weird patterns of thinking when it comes to, just the creative process? And that could apply to everything from cooking to, drawing something, creating a musical piece, or even thinking of a mathematical formula in a different way. But now you may ask yourself, why does that even matter? Why should we spend time and energy to cultivate the inner artist, the inner creative within us? What I'd like to bring your attention to now, though, is every single thing that we experience in this life, whether it's a food that we eat, whether it's a piece of music we listen to, or a movie we watch, or even a company we work in. All of these things, if they are truly worth experiencing, they have creativity at their heart of their existence. So now, the idea that I'd love to explore is, do we have a formula that we can use, a measured mathematical step-by-step procedure that we can apply to our daily life that will cultivate more creativity within us, that would get us in tune with our artist self? And I think there is. Creativity at its heart lies in curiosity, lies in really believing that there is new ways to experience something or even to express something. When we start getting curious about the world around us, understanding that there is new ways to experience one thing, and there's new ways and multiple ways to express ourselves in different dimensions. So that practice is something that we can cultivate in a conscious, decision-based action. We can decide to express ourselves through a musical instrument, or through a brush, or through words, or through taking pictures. It's just a matter of deciding that this is a form that I'd like to communicate in. Language is the biggest creative platform. Now, language is the biggest creative platform that all of humanity is using. And understanding that self-expression through art, through taking photos, through creating a story, through a silent dance, through body movement, is all viable ways to express ourselves. And it's all viable ways to start cultivating that thinking that, hold on, how can I express love through dance? How can I express anger through dance? How can I express self reflection, healing through dance, and through so many different other modalities? Once we start shifting our expression method and choosing other forms than language, that's when we start cultivating the power of creativity and realizing that there is really, truly an artist that lives in every one of us. So, hopefully, this far, I've managed to convince you that there is more than one way that you can choose to express yourself. It is a choice. We rely on language as a form of expression because it's something that we've learned and we grew up with, but there is multiple new ways that you can explore and you can challenge yourself to express yourself in different forms. And that's when you start cultivating creativity. Now, that's one piece of action that you can incorporate within your day. If there's a takeaway that I'd like you to take from this piece here is try to dedicate one day or a few hours per week where you choose a form of expression in a different modality. Now, that could be in multiple forms. I'll leave that up to you to decide. But once you make that conscious decision to practice a new language of expression, that's when you start cultivating the artist in you. Now, moving on from the idea of cultivating the artist through different mediums and forms of expression, the second challenge that we normally face, and this is faced by even developed artists, I face it myself on a daily basis, is voicing that art, is sharing that art. A lot of us get hit with a wall here because we don't want to be sharing our vulnerable states with the world. We don't want to be sharing a piece of content or something that we've created openly to the world for the world to judge. And that's where I'd like to challenge you. Now, there's multiple ways to do this. Number one, if you truly don't care and you've got that confidence and you just want to go out and share your work, then kudos to you. That's amazing bridge that you've just crossed and you don't need to worry about anything. You can just go ahead, explore these new ways of expressing yourself and share it with your friends, with the internet, with the world around you. But for the rest of us that are still struggling to voice their true inner self, that are still struggling to showcase their vulnerable states to the world around them, I can recommend two things. One might take a bit more time to cultivate, but truly understand that once you are completely at peace with expressing yourself in different ways, you're empowering yourself, you're empowering your voice, you're becoming your true self. And there's this complete sensation of power and bliss in recognizing that you are cultivating your personal voice and sharing it to the world. And your voice matters. Your voice is this one part of the collective consciousness. Your voice is this one reflection that develops a culture. That one piece of content, that one piece of something that you've created. You might think it doesn't resonate with a lot of people. You might think nobody cares. But trust me, somebody around you will connect with it. And even if that is just one person, you've created something that has connected with another human being, and that's great. The second thing that I can recommend is thinking of creating an alias. Create a platform where you can share freely without the attachment, without feeling that you're attached to that work. There's a lot of pages on social media platforms that you can create that are not linked to a person or to a personality or to yourself. Using those platforms will give you more confidence in your work. Understanding the feedback from the people around you, understanding the feedback from the audience that you're trying to speak to would cultivate a sense of confidence that would slowly allow you to be more comfortable in sharing your voice in that way. Now, I remember back in the day when, we used to consume a lot of content and a lot of live shows that MTV used to put out. There was one segment that I always looked forward to a lot more than the actual show, and it was the behind the scenes. It was understanding how things worked, being able to have a peek behind the stage and looking at how things shape up. Like, how did they make this concert happen? How did this song come to life? What happened in the studio? And being able to watch and observe the making of process was a lot more inspiring in my creation process. So the third tip that I'd like to leave you with is when you're consuming content, always try to consume content from the creator's perspective. Of course, there's always going to be the first encounter with the content, and that's perhaps going to be from the receiver's perspective while you're consuming the content as an audience member. And that's amazing. That's when you get inspired. But then what I recommend doing is watch it again, and watch it this time from the eye, from the ear of the creator. understand and ask yourself and be curious about how did they create this? What was the process of creation to arrive to this product, to arrive to this point? For example, like how much research do podcasters do on a certain topic before they finally hit record? And what is the actual process that happens in the studio? What is the process that happens behind the scenes that allowed this artist and this human to arrive to a place where they're able to cultivate this product or cultivate this experience? Because that's going to be some type of blueprint or roadmap that you can choose to be inspired by when you're creating your own voice, when you're creating your own experience. So owning our narrative as humans, as people, as beings going through this life experience is so important to becoming our true self and to realizing our true potential. In our modern day, the narrative that we craft about ourselves is up to us. And it's important to understand that there could be multiple versions of that narrative. You could have an 8 to 5 job, and there's a certain persona that you carry and project within that sphere that doesn't have to cross over to your artist self. I remember back in the day working in an insurance company and being in a suit all day, but still having to go for meetings around my music and, for my band. And I would make it a point to actually change my suit into a t-shirt and ripped jeans and a hat in the car or on the way to a meeting, because I knew that the person in front of me wanted to meet Dia the musician and not Dia the insurance guy. So understanding that you can really cultivate different personalities, different narratives about yourself. But the question you need to ask yourself is, are you owning that narrative? And what kind of activity are you creating for yourself that would allow people to see you in that light? So owning the narrative that you create about yourself is something that you can work on through creativity and through creation. And that's definitely something that I'd invite you to reflect on and practice on a daily basis. When it comes to creativity in general, I like to treat it as sacred as a practice of meditation. Usually when you practice meditation, people say that it's important to have a space for that. It's important to have a certain ritual that allows you to enter the mindset of meditation. And very similarly, I think creativity needs to be respected in that way. Creativity needs to be treated as a sacred space that you allow inspiration to occur, that you allow yourself to receive this inspiration from around you. So what I'd like to invite you to think about is creating a certain ritual before you start any kind of creative practice. Try to engage all your senses to cultivate a state of creativity. Prepare your set, influence the vibe around you. I think the vibe around you plays a massive role in the energy that carries out through your creation as well. If there's a certain smell that you like, make sure that's there, that's present. If there's a certain light setting that you enjoy, make sure that you cultivate that around you as well. Try to use all of your senses to dive deeper into your creative self and try to avoid all distractions during that period of time. And most importantly is, don't let the voices of other people around you drown your inner voice. Allow yourself the freedom to explore, allow yourself the freedom to be curious and to create. One major thing that happens during the creation process is self-reflection and also self-judgment. And I think that's a very important topic that we need to shed some light on. I feel like in expression, when you start judging yourself, when you start comparing your work to other people and you think that, hey, I don't think it's good enough. I'm ready yet to be sharing this to the world. I feel like there is a level of learning. There's a level of understanding your craft. There's a level of getting better as you start sharing. Now, a lot of people might not want to attach themselves to a piece of content that they think is not ready yet to see the light, and that's fine. I'm not a perfectionist. I prefer to share in the moment. I believe in cultivating that energy for a specific period of time and understanding and realizing that there's a certain level of therapy that goes into sharing that piece with the world around me, and understanding that in this process, there's a level of healing and there's a level of getting better at the craft that I'm cultivating. So when it comes to success and when it comes to judging yourself and comparing yourself with other creators around you, it's important to understand that it's a process and it's a long-term process. So to me, success is the ability to create something from nothing and having the confidence to share it with the world. And that's really how you should be defining success, because a lot of other people aren't even able to tap into that creative self. A lot of people are still shying away from realizing the creator or the creative within themselves or the artist within themselves. So for you choosing to listen to this podcast, for you choosing to dedicate a certain number of hours per week to practice a certain method is success already. You've already won. It's just a matter of consistency and a matter of an understanding that you shouldn't be comparing yourself and your journey to other people's success or other people's journeys. Every one of us is on their own journey. Now, one of the things that meditation teaches us, or me personally, is, of course, connecting with ourselves, connecting with the divine energy, and a level of reveal that this chase that we're after in life, if it doesn't hold a true purpose, a true North Star that we subscribe to, is a failure, even if it looks like success in the eyes of the world. So understanding what's my true north is a practice that I try to adopt on a regular basis through self-reflection and through meditation. And what's important is understanding that this true north is an adaptable direction. The things that you're interested in today are going to be different than the things that you're going to be interested in 5 years down the line, or even 2 weeks down the line. And that's okay. Understanding and accepting our evolution process is part of our human experience and our human condition. But I feel like it's our responsibility to continuously reflect, check in, and understand where does our North Star truly lie. So adopting that practice is also living in the flow. When you're fully aligned with your purpose, you're going to be calm, fulfilled, and content. Even if you're balancing your true calling with a day job, at least you've identified your passion, your driving force, and your true north. So practicing creativity and understanding that it allows us to explore life in new ways, to express ourselves and add value to the community around us in untraditional ways. And it also allows us to make decisions based on passion and not fear. If we were to take a moment and reflect around the reason why a lot of people may choose a career that they feel is more stable or will provide them with a more stable future, that decision-making process is completely fear-based. It's trying to avoid turbulence in future, rather than choosing a path that they're more passionate about, that they feel like they belong to, even if there is uncertainty all over it. It's important to understand that you can fail at what you don't want, at the job that you think is providing you with that safety and security. So you might as well take a chance at doing what you love. And to be honest, if there's anything that this pandemic has taught us, is this idea of job security and stability is false. In a recent conversation with one of my friends, I remember mentioning to him that there is no career bigger than any market, and there is no market bigger than nature. So understanding that there isn't anything that's going to provide you with complete stability or complete bulletproof career path or future. So I hope this inspires you to make more decisions based on the things you're passionate about, to let go of the false idea of a career path that provides you with complete stability. But it's also important to understand that the path less traveled is really not for everybody. And I'm really not trying to convince you to quit your job and start a career tomorrow, because maybe that's not the right decision to take. I've recently been learning the 8 pillars of yoga with a friend of mine, 2 friends actually, Ricardo and Nadine, who were based in Dubai, and right now they are teaching yoga and meditation through Zoom calls from the States. And he mentioned a story that his guru in India told him that went along the lines that if you seek enlightenment and your true potential, you've got to do the work. But if you can't be bothered, then eat, drink, and be merry. And I feel like there's a lot of wisdom in that, because of course, not all of us want to do the work, and understanding that there is an alternative, but also understanding that you don't have the energy or intention to do the work, then eat, drink, and be merry. If you've made it this far, I see you and I appreciate you for putting in the time and effort to explore this human condition and potential in our human experience.